giving us the experience of living, that giving us the experience of I am alive. So they are two separate words. They are very close, but still have different meaning. You are right that conscience is, which is the ability to discern from right and wrong, you know.
So that has nothing to do with Atman.
That is nothing to do with Atma.
With Atman.
Yes.
So it's just the
Atman does
trait.
Nothing. Yeah.
It's just
gives
a
you
trait that you have developed, every individual has developed, and that is trying to tell you how to lead your life in the correct way.
Correct. And that is all basically our conditionings. So what is right and wrong can be different for different people. See, your conscience may be that such bolna hai, right? For somebody else who is, pathological liar, to him that conscience is dead. He doesn't care. For him, lying is the way of life. He thinks that that's what gets him in the world. So that is why it is.
I think you use the word Chaitanya Shakti for consciousness, which I find much more direct, because so that's always leads me back to the pure ability, the Chaitanya, the ability to,
Correct.
Yeah.
So even in an ant, its activity is dependent on its Chaitanyata, that it is alive, it's sentient. The plants are sentient also. The plants have their own sentiency, but it is not a very, it depends on the reflecting material, right? So if the humans have the best material right now, we are the most coveted tool for the reflection. So we are like the chrome plated glass or whatever. But there are others like plants and other things. They have like a very muddy water. It's reflecting, but it is not very powerful. So they don't have the developed antakaran. They may have a little bit of prana in them, because prana also uses the consciousness. So the way it reflects is, it is reflecting from Atma to Chidabhas to Ahankar, mind to body. All this is like a reflection to reflection to reflection to reflection to reflection. So the first reflection is at the first thing is Chidabhas. Chidabhas is then reflecting through the mind, through the pranas, through the body. So these are reflecting, means it gives it the Chetan Shakti, that I am alive. The body says I am alive because my heart is beating, my blood is going through the veins, my there is a pulse, so I am alive. So this aliveness is coming because of Chidabhas.
And while
because
Atma,
the nature of Chidabhas is giving life.
Right, but while Atma is not personal, meaning your Atma is the same thing as mine, but the Chidabhas
is separate.
Yeah.
Okay. Chidabhas is what makes the difference.
Okay.
So if I say the level of penetration of Atma, so from the Chidabhas to Ahankar, to mind, to prana, to the body, all this feel alive. So when we say, okay, the mind says, you know what, I'm done with this body, and it moves on. So this whole package is what goes out, from Chidabhas all the way to the mind and senses. The whole, I think it is what, 19 elements, the 5, the man, buddhi, chitta, ahankar, then 4 plus 5
Karmendriya,
5 Gyanendriya, So that's, and pancha, actually pranas don't go. So just 14. So 14 is what is moving from one set of experienced shell to another. So, but there are some questions about that too. We'll, Bhagwan explains all that later on, So Atma is the sentiency which is traveling through this. So, but problem is the identification. Problem is tadatmya with the wrong things. So, Saha Purushaha, when Bhagwan says here, Saha Purusha is the same as Atma only. That the person who is a realized master is nothing but Bhagwan. We also consider them as just as Bhagwan, just as we call them realized master or whatever we want to call them, because they understand that I am not the Ahankar, that I am different from Ahankar. Ahankar is a tool that I can use when I need to, but it is not me. That is the nature of that Sapurusha. Sahapurusha means that person. Who is that person? Veda, the one who knows. Veda means the knower of that Atma, which is Avinashi, Nitya, Ajam, Avyayam. This is what Bhagwan says here. So the point here is this is also can be a tool for our meditation. All these verses are actually meditative verses. They are not just for translation, because sometimes they are very hard to grasp. They are easy for translation, that I can tell you, okay, this is what, this is what Avyaya means, Ajam means, this means, but they will only sink in when we do Manan and Nididhyasan on them. These words are for understanding, that understand my wrong, जिसको क्या बोलते हैं, that my adhyas, my wrong understanding that I have with this body, the wrong understanding I have with this ahankar. So why should I get perturbed when ahankar gets perturbed or disturbed? I should not, because I am different from ahankar. But because of that closeness with ahankar, I get carried away with it. So, and this is life after life after life. It's not just, So Bhagwan says, wake up, Arjun. O Partha, understand that you cannot be the cause of killing. You cannot be the killer because you are Atma, which is that. Okay. So another Purva Paksha can say that, okay, you know what? If you are saying that if I identify with something Nitya, I don't become Nitya. So I start identifying with a mountain, or identify with something else which is not moving. I cannot become that. How can you say that this Purusha is same as Atma, So why is, and the reason being that everything else that I can experience as Nitya is inert. The only thing that is not inert is Atma alone. So that would make a difference, because everything else is anitya. We talked about it, even ahankar, and which we think is nitya, that I am always there, but I am also constantly changing. That I means the ahankar is also constantly changing. It is not something that is the same. Ahankar is just a thought, right? But that thought has kind of become very, very strong in us. That is the problem. So the agyani means the one who is not thinking like that, one who is not thinking of himself as Atma. For him, we have to, it has to develop the viveka. So, because he thinks he is the doer, karta and bhokta. So that is the cycle we spend our life after life after life as karta bhokta. So karta bhokta se we have to, because who is a jnani who has now denied all the upadhis, all the conditionings. Conditioning means body, pranas, the mind, the intellect, the ego, the ahankar, all that he has denied. He means she also, she has denied. And once they have denied it, then the only thing left for them to identify with is Atma. Okay. So for that, we have to do Shastra Vichar. That's see, this is why, because this knowledge is not readily available. This knowledge is not pratyaksha. It has to come from somewhere. It has to be told. See, somebody told us my name is Rajiv, right? That's how I have now started using that, and everybody else around me calls me Rajiv. So I think I am Rajiv. I am this body. I have this, whatever conditions I have, whatever upadhis I have, that is who I think I am. So that thinking has become very, very strong in me. That is the problem. So that is why I am a karta bhokta. I am a karta bhokta. Karta bhokta is part of prakriti only. The body is being used by prakriti to do things. See, if we think about it, bachcha paida hua, right? Bachcha bada hota hai. Now, it is actually a part of this nature, prakriti, right? So prakriti is doing things with it. Prakriti is using it for its own, whatever, fulfilling its role. Now, we don't think of it as, so we are not thinking of ourselves as part of the Vyashti. Vyashti means the collective Jagat, right? We think of ourselves as separate, and I am an experiencer of this Jagat. I have my own identity, which is separate, and there is Jagat, which is separate. I am just using the Jagat for my fulfillment, So that is why jo China jhapti hai Jagat mein is because of each of us think that we are separate from this Jagat. But we don't realize Jagat is using us like, puppets. So uski door kisi aur ke haath mein hai. They are basically making us dance, and we are thinking we are actually the ones doing it. कल को हमारा दिल धड़कना बंद हो जाए, then राम नाम सत्य है. 5 दिन बाद भी जाएंगे कि there was a person called Rajiv,
But Rajiv, I got it. You mentioned this before, also a part of Jagat. So what you're saying is this, even the illusion of antakaran and freedom and choice is also a prakriti, is like it's happening. Lekin, at the same time, जो हमारा भ्रम है, अज्ञान जो है, तादात्म्य वगैरह का, isn't there some agency or volition in letting go of that? मतलब कि when you see clearly, मतलब अगर प्रकृति से अपने आप ही हो रहा है तो then we'll also say कि हमारा ज्ञान भी प्रकृति करवाएगी. But to the extent we think we have any choice in choosing virtue or non-virtue, तो हम ये नहीं कहेंगे कि ये प्रकृति तो हमसे करवा रही है. If we don't pay any attention, प्रकृति हमसे करवाएगी जरूर अपने आप ही. लेकिन आत्मज्ञान के लिए हमें कुछ मतलब ये चिताभास ही है शायद, whatever is coming through, whatever, isn't there some slight subtle shifting of the attention?
That is true. Okay. Again, I'm going back to Yoga Vasisht. Sorry. The definition, so there are two things. One is called prarabdha and purusharth. Purusharth is the self-effort, that you put in effort to do something, right? And the Purusharth and prarabdha. Prarabdha is what comes to you. You know, you are born to a family you have no control over. You will die one day, you have no control over. You know, suddenly Ram Nam Satya hai. Or, you know, you go through illness, you go through these things, it will happen, you know, no matter what you try, you know, kitna bhi healthy kha lo, ek din to marna hi hai. I'm not against healthy eating. I'm just saying that Prakriti has its ways, right? Nobody lives for hundreds of years, right? So after some time, there is a time when this body will go. Point here is what you were saying, and I agree with you. The Purusharth is only to disengage from this identification. That is only Purusharth. Other than every is a Purusharth. Waste of time, you know. You can waste your whole life running after things. In the end, you will die like a dog, you know. No matter if you win the rat race, you will still be a rat. Kitni bhi rat race kar lo, you know, you can win it. It's not like you cannot win it. You can win. You can die a billionaire or you can die with nothing. The death is same for both, right? It's just another dream, boss. Yeah. Anyways.
Okay. Thank you.
So point here is that Purusharth is where you put in an effort to loosen this grip of Prakriti on you. Jis jakad rakha hai na jisne hame, we have to just loosen it slowly and slowly. Shnaye, you know. So it is possible. It is just a slow process, that's all. But we have to put in an effort for that. This is where the free will comes into play. That we decide to be part of this study group to say, okay, you know what? I am not this. Where else would you study that? In any school, college, work, anywhere? It just reinforces you as a body-mind equipment, right? Nobody says you are Atma. Only when you are sitting with Krishna that you can hear that word, you know. So think of yourself, they say first time you go through Bhagwad Gita as Arjuna, with all your doubts and, you know, your wrong understanding. The second time you go as Krishna. You know? So दोनों तरफ से गीता को समझना चाहिए कि भगवान कहना क्या चाह रहे हैं और अर्जुन समझ क्या रहा है. So Bhagwan is trying to kind of tell him, get over this dukkha, get over this shok that you are, you know, drowning in, you know, shok and bhaya, both, you know. Basically he was also fearful of two things. One is that he will be the cause of this problem, and the second is that he will lose his the people that he is so attached to, you know, one way or the other. Either he'll die or they will die. So either way, it will be a problem for him. So he was worried about that. But it was coming in very different, wrong ways. So anyways, so main point is that Atma is Anitya. Now Bhagwan is saying, okay, do we have time? Just maybe we can cover one more, or maybe not. But let's at least do the word meaning, and we will go through the details in the next class. So the next one is actually, this one is used by a lot of people, you know, when they try to explain Atma. And so this says, this is number 22. Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grahanati naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani sanyati navani dehi. Okay, very simple meaning. It is not, but we have to understand the context of it, and I'll explain the context. Let's understand the meaning, word meaning of it. Vasansi jirnani. Jirnani means purane. When the clothes are old, what do we do? We just discard them, right? So navani grahanani naroparani, and we take up the new clothes. Same way, tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. So just like the old clothes get rejected by the deha, or the person rejects that, same way the dehi, now he again uses the word dehi. We had used it earlier. Again, he uses the word dehi. So same way, tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani. As the sharir gets old, jirnani means old. When it becomes old, the dehi rejects it and takes up a anyani samyati navani dehi. So it takes up a new body. Now, very simple. Just like old clothes are rejected, new clothes are taken up. Same way, the old bodies, the jiranani means the one that is decayed bodies are rejected and new bodies are taken up. Very simple. Now you have to understand that because some people just use this as a, oh, this is about jiva. That means when I say jiva, it's a collection of the antakaran with indriyas, right? That when it is going from body to body, it is taking up a, so it rejects the old body, takes up a new body. But Bhagwan, abhi tak, from 11th verse, Bhagwan is talking about Avinashi, Nitya, all that Atma, he's using Atma continuously. How can suddenly he start to use for the, for a jiva? So understand this, we cannot take a shloka out of context. So it has to follow the pattern of this thought, because Bhagwan doesn't do anything without, a continuous flow. It is not a random that he uses this particular verse. So here Bhagwan is trying to say something which is not about the antakaran, which is going through body to body. It is about Atma only. ये समझना है जरूरी, because the context is Atma. Context is not Jiva. The word Jiva has not even come up to now, right? Have we used the word Jiva yet? But people use it. When they explain this verse, they use Jiva. So I want to make sure that we understand it.
But Rajiv, on the other hand, as you've explained, 3 separate words have been used: Atma, Dehi, and Shariri.
Mm-hmm. Atma has not been used.
Oh,
only
Atma has not
Dehi
been
and
used.
Shariri. I use Atma just because I like Atma.
Okay, but in this case, Dehi and Shariri are also basically synonyms for Atma, na, in the way.
It is synonym for Atma only. Because look at the characteristics. See, characteristics of Atma, here we are using the word Avinashi, Nitya, Ajam, Avyayam. How can we use it for Jiva? We cannot, right? So, Jiva is not Avinashi or Nitya. It is constantly changing.
Right.
So it cannot be that. That's all I'm saying. So once we understand, so just word meaning wise, so why do we say that this is not for Jiva but for Atma? That we will cover in the next class. I just wanted to go through the word meaning of it, Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya, So if you have any questions, we can take up now, because the point is, the word meaning is very, very simple. So think of this as body can drop the old clothes and take up new. Same way, Atma is getting rid of old bodies and taking up new. That's the meaning, word meaning, if you want to take it. So नए शरीर में चला जाता है, you know.
Now, Rajiv, by sharir, is it meant the three sharirs, the sthul, sukshma, and karan?
Bhagwan doesn't say that, but he will explain in the next few verses. But point here is that we should understand we are talking here of Atma alone. We are not talking about Jiva. Okay? Because people have used this verse for explaining Jiva, that Jiva is traveling from body to body.
Yeah, that leads to eternalism, which is not the case here.
Which is not the case.
Yeah.
So
in the next class, on this verse, building on this verse, you talked about the Atman has basically shed this body and moves on to the next body.
Yes.
Okay. So now, and earlier on in the lecture, you talked about the realized souls. They're Bhagwans. Okay, they're Bhagwans. So what happens to their Atman?
Very good question.
That doesn't shed their clothes and comes back again?
See, okay. Very good question. I love this question. Anybody else wants to take up this question?
I just want to give one example.
Okay.
If that will make sense. So when you say their Atman, we are already putting divisions in the Atma. When we have been talking about that, there are no divisions. So my Atma, your Atma, his Atma. Then when we say that, then we are putting divisions in the Atma, which it is not. It is all one. And to sort of understand that, if we take up an example of, let's say, a house, and it's my favorite example, I always like to explain it through that. There is a contained space in this house, right? And when this house gets demolished, what happens to that space? It just blends with the external space. So, but then in our minds, we think of it as, this is my space, my house space, and that is external space, that somebody else's, and that house has its own space. So we think of this plurality, it's in our minds, this plurality. We think of my Atma, his Atma. But then when this body is demolished, it's when this body is dead and gone, burnt, nothing is left. Whatever was in there kind of blends with the rest of it. So think of it that way. So just for like a broad understanding of it. So it's not that his Atma. Now, what is associated with this particular Jiva is the Antahkarana, his or her Antahkarana, which has all these impressions of experiences, of all these things that that are getting imprinted on that Antahkarana. So that, and so it is for the enlightened souls, it is said that, you know, even those are washed out, those things don't matter. Those karmas are not going to yield any more phalas, you know. So that's what happens really, per my understanding. But of course, Rajiv can shed more light on it. But the minute we start expressing these things as individual Atmas, we confuse ourselves. I think that's what it is. So at any given point in time, the distinction should not be my Atma, your Atma. No? Distinction should only come from the Antahkarana perspective. That is the individual aspect of the Jiva.
But Ruplaji, are you saying that the Jivan Mukta person who has realized their Sanchit karma will not affect them and therefore will not lead to rebirth? That's what you're saying.
No, rebirth, even, you know, yes. So that's what it is. But then even for argument's sake, let's say even if rebirths take place because of whatever past karmas or whatever, if that, although it is said that all the karmas are burnt, so no new karmas will, let's say, so person A gets enlightened on March 31st. So going forward, he has rest of his life. So he'll be performing karmas. Those karmas technically should yield results. But for an enlightened person, those things karmas don't leave any impression for this person. And so there is no, going forward, there is no result of these karmas. But however, the past may still remain to be burned. So this person may be born again, but then will again, his karmas in that are not going to impact him.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
See, there are only two results, sukh and dukh, what karmas bring. So point here is that for him, he is beyond sukha dukkha. So what will he come for? If he has to take a birth again, what for?
To benefit other people, like a bodhisattva.
That may be a choice that that Prakriti may do. He or she may come back, but that is just, there is actually a verse in third chapter which explains what do they do. The realized master, if they have nothing to do with this world anyway, when they have nothing to gain or lose, then what do? They do for the betterment of the society. That's what they do. They have nothing more to gain because they are seeing oneness with everyone. See, they are not like the equipment is still with them, right? They are still owning this equipment from the past karmas. This body is still with them. The mind is still with them. So they are going to use it, but for the higher good of the society. But that third chapter, we'll leave it for that.
I'm hoping you can elaborate a little more, because I'm still not convinced with this analogy that this Dua is still talking about. Well, you move from one old body, old clothes to new clothes. So if Atman is one, it's like one person. I've got hundreds of clothes, and I'm shedding the one old cloth, wearing a new one. So if Atman is one, then it's one person.
So it is not the Atma that is wearing these clothes. It is the what we talked about, Chidabhas. So that the reflected conscience. So and that's where the Antakarana is. So that's the individual part, and it is for the optimum performance, because the old bodies are not able to perform to their best, right? Memory is lost, hearing is lost, whatever, all sorts of vikaras are happening in this sharir. But the Antakara needs to still perform what needs to be performed. So for that, an efficient instrument is needed. So it's a change of instrument.
Okay. So I'll leave one more thought. I think I'm going to shut off after that.
No, continue.
So Chidabhas is changing clothes. I think I understand that piece of it. Then why is the population suddenly becoming 1 billion to 7 billion then? So where are these other new Chidabhasas coming from then? Because if I'm just changing clothes, the same 1 billion should have stayed 1 billion over decades and decades and centuries.
Good question.
Right. So,
again, who is going to answer that?
Since
maybe Shekharji can answer.
Since I had opened my mouth, I'll continue.
Looking at your analogy earlier, if someone brings a fresh bucket in the dark room, now the same light is reflected in two buckets and the wavy water. So the original Atma is not diminished, or as you say, is Purna in the beginning, Purna at the end and all that. However, it can be reflected in as many instruments of manifestation as is needed, while some will continue, and it can even split into more than one. I think, at least in a Buddhist sense, the mind, body, speech can be.
So think of it as, even the plants and other life forms, they are also getting karma phalas, and they are also in some instance getting born as human beings, right? So that's another thing, and so it's all these things are coming from so many different other forms of jivas, not necessarily true. Just one human body decaying and and existing reflection taking another instrument. It's not like that. It's so many other jivas are also being born at some certain stage as taking as human birth. So
you're a very good point, Rupalaji, because the Preta realm and anyway hell realm, so many other realms are there, and so not to mention different world systems. I mean, to be born on this planet Earth, we don't just come from Earth. Yeah.
So let me give you a example. There is a story about, I don't know, it may take a little longer time, but to answer your question, we only think in terms of that there is a limited number of jivas, right? And these are the one that is circulating. That's a very Western thought, not according to our Shastras. So the jivas can come in multitudes, and it is not just one jiva that is going to come as one jiva. So let me explain this again in a different way. We always think there was Raj Kalra, who was before that Suresh Kumar, before that he was Venkata Swami, before that he was some princess in France. That may or may not be true, right? We think it is the continuation of one jiva, right? But it is, we have to think about from a samashti standpoint. That samashti may decide, okay, you know what? I'm going to create a new universe. I'll create 1 zillion new jivas here. So jivas are not restricted by that. We think that this Rajiv was once Suresh, once Saraswati. Before that, it was some Yamuna. Not necessarily like that. It may be, but what I'm saying is that let the samashti do its job. Samashti is zillions of universes are there. There is not one universe that is limited to 1 billion people. So there could be new universes are formed on a daily basis, on a second basis. So this is all in our scriptures also. So this parallel universe theory is not new to us. So there are several universes going on at the same time.
And each particle is not even.
Yeah. So point is not that this how come from 1 billion we have gone to 7 billion? Where did the other 6 billion come from? There can be 20,000 billion as well. It doesn't matter. It is reflecting mediums. Reflecting medium is provided by Prakriti. Who is controlling Prakriti? Only Bhagwan controls Prakriti. So it doesn't matter how many, because this is just because once we have identified it as a Maya, so what does Maya mean? Maya means which is really not there. Ma-ya. Ma means not, ya means there. So which is really not there. We think we are 7 billion people right now, or whatever the current number is, but that doesn't mean much. For this Prakriti for that, we are just a tiny speck, the whole world, this world that we know of. Think of several universes like that. अब कहाँ से कौन से जीव किस उसमें transmigrate हो रहा है, we don't know. So the point here is thinking of it as a real entity is a problem.
Yeah.
Thinking of Rajiv Khanna as a individual identity is the wrong thinking. That's what we are trying to explain here. And you will see by end of this, next few verses, Bhagwan will clarify that point, that this whole thought process that I am this individual going through transmigration is a very problematic thought.
Yeah, in fact, that leads to the
ये
false.
अहंकार को और मजबूत करने की कोशिश कर रहा है.
Right. In fact, that subsequent श्लोक की fire can't destroy. Some people think कि now मैं तो अमर हो गया, मतलब मुझे तो कोई मार नहीं सकता है. अहंकार can think that, you know, कि yeah.
नहीं, then we have these राक्षस. See, राक्षस और देवता में कोई बहुत ज्यादा फर्क नहीं है. See, they are also big tapasvis. जैसे से रावण था, so he had a boon, right? Same way with हिरण्यकश्यप, he had a boon कि उसको कोई मार नहीं सकता, ना जमीन पे मार सकता है, ना आसमान में मार सकता है, ना कोई दिन में मार सकता है, ना कोई रात में मार सकता है, ना शस्त्र से मार सकता है, ना किसी अस्त्र से मार सकता है. You know, so he had all provisions that are taken care of, you know, that nobody can kill him. But his problem was his identification with the body, कि मेरे को इस शरीर को कोई नहीं मार सकता. So राक्षस की प्रवृत्ति और उसमें सिर्फ इतना ही फर्क है कि वो इस शरीर को ही मैं मान के बैठे हुए हैं. हम भी राक्षस ही हैं एक तरह से, you know. We also think हम भी शरीर है कि मैं भी एक दिन मर जाऊंगा, फिर किसी और जन्म में आऊंगा, you know.
Is Rakshas the same as Asur? मतलब just Devya and Asur?
Yeah, different names for it. Yeah, same thing.
Okay.
So then the analogy goes the other way also, right? Somebody कहते प्रकृति ने किया, suddenly there's a famine and comes around and Mother God Bhagwanji wipes out half the population.
Yeah.
So all in one shot, right? Suddenly half the population is gone.
6 million people.
Whether it's plants, insects, humans don't care. Half of them are gone, right? So now not that one individual, not that Rajiv or Raj or somebody did that. इतना पूरा काम कर लिया कि आधी species को भगवान जी ने एक बार में उड़ा दिया है.
I know.
Right?
Yeah, that's true too.
So उसमें तो कपड़े का कुछ चक्कर ही नहीं हुआ, तो सब भगवान जी ने एक बार में सबको उड़ा दिया है.
No, but actually they could be reborn as jivas in a different realm, ना? ऐसा नहीं है कि मतलब they're
भगवान जी को कहीं और किसी गैलेक्सी में जरूरत पड़ गई है.
नहीं, इसी नहीं, मृत्युलोक में यहाँ पे भी they could be born as a bacteria or animal or pakshi and whatever, preta and everything. They could so many realms, you know.
The point here is कि why do we have to think like that? ये पूरा भगवद गीता का जो concept is to get us out of that thought process. You know,
that won't lead to the end of suffering.
The shloka took me there. ना कपड़े बदलना है.
I know.
Took me there.
नहीं, we'll actually ये तो अभी शुरू है. We will talk about कि what is the real thing that we are talking about. Why is not about Jiva? It is about Atma only. So ये सब we will discuss tomorrow, but we'll understand all the objections one by one.
Right, but Rajiv and Raj, you're both, I mean, it's like a good discussion because the false understanding of Atma also masquerades as the true understanding of Atma. Matlab, what you were just saying, Rajiv. Matlab, ye jo, this same verse, if it's interpreted ki something goes from this lifetime to another and Vastra and all that kind of stuff, then it feels like there is something indestructible that goes from this. While on the one hand, we're talking about Atma, that's a different distinction. But this idea should not give us this false sense of eternalism ki I'll not die, because certainly there will be the experience of death and due to moha and everything, stool shari and everything. So, but one's nature will not die. One's nature, the true essence, that will have some kinds of causal continuation or whatever through antakaran. But so I think you're right, Rajiv, in that redirection, ki where to go the other direction to see ki why are we.
Yeah, we don't have to focus on that. I understand, this is every other religion is talking about it. कि तुम्हें मुक्ति मिलेगी या तुम्हें स्वर्ग मिलेगा या तुमको as राज कालरा कुछ मिलेगा,
हूरे मिलेंगे.
हूरे मिलेंगी, so just because somebody said that doesn't mean much. point that we are trying to focus on is कि मेरे दुख और भय कैसे खत्म हो.
True.
That's all, you know. What is the cause of my suffering? What is the real cause of my suffering? My cause of suffering is my wrong understanding. Only when I correct my thinking, only then I can, really get the gist of this Bhagwad Gita.
And by Sukh
यही
and
कर
Dukh,
रहे हैं. भगवद गीता इस भय और शोक को दूर करने की तरीका है.
But Rajiv, just to clarify, by Sukh and Dukh, you mean the mental interpretation of Anukul Pratikul Parasthiti. Matlab, unwanted and wanted circumstances will still happen, लेकिन सुख दुख के बजाय समता रहेगी, equanimity रहेगी or whatever, right? That's what your point.
Correct. मैंने इसको ये वो बंद कर रहा हूँ recording. We can continue.
Yeah, that's what we talked about last time, right? So
yeah,
when you talked about when you chase sukh